Before I begin, I just want to say congratulations to the entirety of the team, to the assistants, to the main writer, to the artist, everyone that worked on The Promised Neverland, because with the 50th chapter, this officially confirms that The Promised Neverland has been going on for a full year now. That is very nice to see, and I'm very glad that The Promised Neverland has made it this far. And so with that being said, this chapter confirms something that many of us were talking about when the first chapter came out 1 year ago. I remember even saying this in my first impressions of this series. I said that the children on the farm, they were living this life, this false happiness. I remember saying that it's kind of obvious the way this is going is that they're on an organic farm. They are organically being raised. It's kind of like how we have organic food in our society. They are being organically raised. They're being raised to think that they're free, but in reality, they're not. That's what we do to some livestock, what we do to cows, pigs, chickens, and stuff. We do that. We make it think like, or make them think that they are, alive and living free, but in reality, they're not. And that's what the children are doing. They thought they were living a free life, but they weren't. And so, this chapter confirms that they were organically raised, which we were kind of already aware of. It was kind of obvious, but it's officially confirmed now with the chapter that they are a rarity amongst everyone in this demon world. From what we found out, there is only 4 plantations that run like where these children came from. And so that means out of these 4 different farms, all the others are factories. Mass production factories. They want to get things out quickly. And so in this case, you have it to where majority of the humans in this world are nowhere near the intelligence of Ray, Emma, and the other children. They, as you can probably say, are brain dead in a way, because of the way they're not getting stimulation, they're being locked up, they're being drugged, they're supposed to just sit there and just wait until they get killed and fattened up. So basically, we have found out the truth, that these kids, they are organically raised, and they cannot seek help from other children. There's 3 other farms, but even then, getting into these 3 farms is probably not going to be easy at all, because they have nobody else they can really get help from. Number 1, you gotta remember what was stated, is that they're in a world that is completely separate from humanity. So there is no human civilization in the demon world. There is none. None at all. Since this has been going on for 1,000 years, if there was supposedly a human civilization a part of the world, it would have already been wiped out. The demons would have went out of their way and probably killed off the humans that were in their world. So that's no longer a thing. So humanity is not a part of this world. There is no civilization for the children to run to. They are on their own until they cross the wall or barrier to get back into where human society is. And so because of that, they have no allies to rely upon, and I highly doubt they're going to constantly run into people like Musica and the other demon, and they're going to say like, oh, we're, vegans, we don't want to eat humans. I highly doubt they're going to run into those type of people constantly. That's just not going to happen, because if we think about how our society is, let's just take a page from our society. Majority of our society, there's a lot of vegans, yes, but the people that eat everything, that's the vast majority over the people that are just vegans. And in this case, you can consider the demons that don't want to eat humans as the vegans, and so they're very rare and few in between. So that is something very interesting about this chapter. So a lot of the children in this world, they don't get to have happiness. They don't even get to really know what life is like, which is very fucked up, because depression is a big thing when it comes to, humanity. When we are alone, or we don't know what's going on, or we're bored, depression kicks in. And all of these kids that are locked up in a row, in a line, plugged up to tubes and stuff, all I can think is just how fucked this is. And in a way, it's a very grim outlook to how real life is. Now, I know this is a very controversial subject for many, what I'm about to say, because I know many always talk about this. I've seen people discuss this when I talked about it in the Chimera Ant, arc of Hunter x Hunter. But what we see here is exactly what we humans do to other animals in our society. what I'm getting at is what we see happening to the children in this chapter, with the children being lined up against the wall. They have tubes put in them, and they're just, being force-fed, and then they're being, put in this drug-like state just to stay in their spot, and then fatten them up, and then they're gonna just slaughter them. That type of stuff is very, very similar to what we do to cattle, what we do to cows, pigs, chickens. It's very similar. Very, very, very similar to what we do to factory-raised, pen-raised, animals. And when you see this scene, if you think that's really fucked up, I think what the writer was trying to kind of imply here is that if you think this is fucked up, then most likely you should take a look and know what we are doing to the creatures in our world. Now, I know many are going to start discussing, like, Chibi, you can't compare a human being to a cow, a dog, a fucking cat, to a chicken. You can't compare a human life to that, which, that's a big controversial subject. I'm not even going to dive into that. I refuse to dive into that. However, there's many ways to go about this and how many might view that, but it's still fucked up regardless. Regardless if, something is intelligent or not, which there's a lot of creatures out there that in this society right now in real life are very intelligent, but we still prey upon them or throw them into like a pen and enslave them basically. Stuff like that happens in real life. And what we're seeing here is kind of showing the darkness of humanity. And this is honestly something that a lot of writers love to do, especially when it comes to manga. I mean, Togashi, when, he writes Hunter x Hunter, he loves to do something like this. He loves to showcase the darkness of humanity and what's really fucked up and what we do and how we destroy the world. Togashi focused an entire arc on that. The Chimera Ant Saga was entirely focused on how us, humans, we will destroy anything that threatens us, regardless of what it is. We can easily destroy something that is way stronger than us because of just how destructive we are. And that's kind of what this is. This is another example of another darkness, another shadow to humanity and what we do, and showing that, maybe we're not very different from the demons, honestly. I mean, in reality, when you think about it, if the demons were a real thing, okay, what's to say we might not be harvesting demons for whatever materials they might have? I mean, think about this. Since there's a bunch of different demon shapes and sizes, most likely there's some form of material that demons have in their body or whatever that maybe humans would want to hunt. I'm not even going to joke. I'm not. That's probably a thing. I could see that probably happening in the future of this series, probably on the human world, to where maybe demons are enslaved. They're being hunted and feasted upon, for instance, either for their meat or whatever they have on their bodies, maybe horns or something, just to make weapons and stuff, or materials. I can definitely see that. And so, probably what this is trying to show, and what the writer is trying to demonstrate is that humanity is not much different from what we are seeing the demons do to these children. Which is fucked. It's very fucked. Anyways, though, besides that, we have at the end, we have it to where Ray, he's finally trying to type more into the, the hologram, the message you see where he's typing in hope. So I'm kind of curious to see where that's going to go and see what information we get. But that's about it when it comes to this chapter. The chapter was very simple. We found out the darkness of this series. I mean, a very, very dark moment. I mean, probably one of the darkest moments yet was seeing those children locked up like that in a factory. I mean, I'm just surprised that, Weekly Shonen Jump allowed that. I mean, I know Weekly Shonen Jump has given this series a lot of support. I've talked about this. I mean, they've given this series so many color pages and just, they've focused the magazine so much on this series that clearly they want this series to get popular. It's just obvious by now. And so Shonen Jump is on the side of the Promised Neverland. I'm still surprised that they allowed something like that to fly, especially with just children being lined up like that, because honestly, that's very fucking dark. That's something you would see from Weekly Shonen Jump in the 1990s or 1980s. I mean, or early 2000s, because you don't normally get that type of dark shit anymore. You really don't. It's a rarity to see something like that in Weekly Shonen Jump, and so seeing that just image, it's very gruesome, and I'm very surprised. I'm very, very surprised they let that fly, and so, once again, it just shows the Weekly Shonen Jump, they have a lot of respect and a lot of hope in The Promised Neverland. I know that's kind of relevant, actually, to what Ray's typing up, because he's, trying to figure out more about whatever, William wants, or what, has planned, But the point is, though, I'm glad Shonen Jump has supported this series thus far for an entire year. They clearly care about it. They want it to succeed. They don't want it to fail. They don't want to slit its throat like a fucking cow before it even gets to grow and learn anything. They're letting this series flourish and thrive, which I hope this isn't a metaphor that they're organically raising the Promised Neverland, and then it's just gonna end tragically and get axed. I hope that's not like a metaphor or something to this series. But anyways, though, I have to say, I've loved it so far. It's been a blast of a journey. Like, it's been a very good journey for an entire year. I can't wait to see the next year of content that we get. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.